Obey Jesus, saving Bitcoin. Jeremy Hain. Alright, I want to just, for the atheists out there, because I used to be one, and I was an atheist because I had hurt feelings because the people that I met in Catholic school, as in elementary school, were awful human beings. And because of that, the faculty, the students, I assumed that there was no God and that God was a bullshit story. And that is not fair to God. You know, God gave us free will. Those people chose to be shitty, but that's not on God. He gave us free will. You can't take it out on God that a person was shitty to you, just like you can't take out on a person that some other person was shitty to you. It's just not fair to God. So, I just want to offer a logical argument for why an atheist should be Christian. And this is strictly, what if you're wrong versus what if you're right. Okay? So, bear with me a second. Alright, so this is a very simple risk-reward, alright? And it's all based on if you're right and if you're wrong. So if you're an atheist and the Bible means nothing, it's just a control mechanism, all fake stories, there was no Jesus, or Jesus was just a guy, and he wasn't Son of God, all that. Everything atheists think, it's all bullshit, right? If you are correct, when you die, there's a blackness, an eternal nothingness, right? But you have peace, right? There's no agitators, there's nothing bothering you, there's no pain, there's no pleasure, there's nothing. And I know there's a lot of atheists that are in a lot of pain, and they're looking forward to the peace of nothingness. That's if you're right. If you're wrong, Matthew chapter 11, you go to hell. Now listen. Judgment for the unbelievers. Then Jesus began to denounce the towns where he had done so many of his miracles because they hadn't repented of their sins and turned to God. What sorrow awaits you, Chorazin and Bethsaida? For if the miracles I did in you had been done in wicked Tyre and Sidon, their people would have repented of their sins long ago, clothing themselves in burlap and throwing ashes on their head to show their remorse. I tell you, Tyre and Sidon will be better off on Judgment Day than you. And you people of Capernaum, will you be honored in heaven? No, you will go down to the place of the dead. That's hell. For if the miracles I did for you had been done in wicked Sodom, it would still be here today. I tell you, even Sodom will be better off on Judgment Day than you. And you can look up Sodom and see how that went. You're going to hell if you don't believe in Jesus. Why? Because God sent Jesus to show us the way and to be our salvation. And all you gotta do is believe in Jesus to get into heaven. That's your salvation. That's your ticket. He suffered so that you wouldn't have to. And all you gotta do is believe. And God looks at you, since he sent his beloved Son to us to be sacrificed for our salvation, that if you deny Jesus, I mean, what an insult. You're basically spitting in God's face. So, if you're wrong, from an atheist perspective, if you're wrong, and there was a God, and God had a Son named Jesus, and he sent him here for our salvation, and all we gotta do is believe in Jesus, and we get into heaven. Not believing in Jesus gets you sent to hell. No, you will go down to the place of the dead. Now, the risk-reward of being atheist The risk is you go to hell. The reward is you get nothing. Nothing. Here's risk reward from the Christian perspective. If you're a Christian and you're right, you go to heaven. And all the wonderful things that you can assume about heaven. I mean, right there, I shouldn't need to say anything more, but I'll do it. If you're wrong, and there's blackness, it's eternal nothingness. The downside of being a Christian, the eternal nothingness, the blackness, that is the upside of being an atheist. So an atheist, you can either have eternal nothingness as your best case scenario, or hell. With Christians, it's you go into heaven, or is eternal nothingness. I mean, it's not even a question what you do. So I just wanted to pass that by you. Also, this is just based on the hypothetical of right and wrong, atheist versus Christian. There are over 2 billion people on the planet that believe in Christianity. And yeah, there's over 2 billion that believe in Islam. And then, you have a bunch of Hindus and a bunch of Buddhists, relatively few Jews. But there's 2 billion people that when they think of God, they're believing in Jesus. So, and even the Muslims, speak very highly of Jesus. So, you've got 4 billion people, half the world, speaking highly of Jesus, and more than half of that group thinking that Jesus is God. How many atheists are there? How many people, can sit in nature and not feel God, and sit by the ocean and not feel God, to be on a boat in a large body of water on a beautiful day and not feel God, can be in a plane and look down the tiny world and how small the houses are and not feel God. I just don't understand the atheist perspective. When I was an atheist, it's because I was shut down spiritually, closed off. I had met too many awful people pretending to be reps of God, and I assumed it was all bullshit. But I have felt the saving hand of God. It's a personal story. I'm not going to tell it. God is real, and He did send His Son Jesus. And when I've prayed to Jesus, I know it. And I've seen judge a man by his fruit, something like that. I prayed to Jesus and got remarkable, miraculous results. So, do what you're going to do, but, I don't want to see you burning in hell. Alright, thanks for watching. Obey Jesus, saving Bitcoin. Jeremy Hain.